Hello, everyone. Today I want to share a wonderful story about how English changed my life, my dream, and my success. If you have big dreams to be a doctor, engineer, lawyer, business person, or anything great, you need English. English is spoken by more than 1.5 billion people. It is the language of travel, business, and the internet. Without English, you may lose chances like getting a good job, making international friends, or enjoying movies and books in their real language. But don't worry. You can start learning today and join this big global family. If I can learn English and reach my dream, you can do it too. My name is David, and I am from Brazil. I was born in a small town. My family was not rich and not poor, just normal. We had enough to live, but no extra luxuries. My father was a taxi driver, and my mother was a teacher. They always said, "Education is the key to success." From the time I was a child, I had one dream: to become a doctor. I remember the day that changed my life. I was 10 years old. My little brother was very sick with high fever. My parents were crying. Then a doctor came. He was calm and kind. He said, "Don't worry, I will help your son." He gave medicine and explained everything clearly. After some hours, my brother was safe. That moment, I decided, I will become a doctor and save lives. But then I found a problem. To become a doctor, I needed English. All books and research were in English. Even in Brazil, doctors needed English. But my English was very bad. In my public school, English was very little. I only knew hello and how are you. When I saw long sentences, I could not read. Once, my English teacher asked me to read, but I could not. The class laughed. I felt very sad. At home, I cried. How will I be a doctor if I cannot read English? My father asked me why I was sad. I told him the truth. "Papa, my dream is impossible because my English is bad." He was quiet, then said, "If English is the problem, then learn English. Go to a country where people speak English every day." I said, "But Papa, we don't have money." He smiled and said, "We don't have much, but we have enough. Your dream is important." That night, my parents and I decided I would go to Canada. We chose Canada because people speak English everywhere. Schools are very good. People are friendly and from many cultures, and it was cheaper than the USA or UK. It was not easy. We were only middle class. My parents used almost all their savings for my flight, school, and first months in Canada. Before I left, my mother held my hand and said, "David, we give you everything. Promise you will not give up." I hugged her and said, "I promise, Mama." With one small suitcase, little money, and a big dream, I flew to Canada. When I arrived in Toronto, I felt strange. The weather was so cold, my hands were ice. The food was new, not like my mother's cooking. People spoke too fast. I could not understand. At the airport, one man asked me, "Do you need a taxi?" I did not understand. I only smiled and showed him the address on my phone. That night, in my small room, I cried. What am I doing here? I don't understand anything. The next day, I went to my English school. The teacher said, "Welcome, please introduce yourself." My turn came. I said, "My name David, I from Brazil." I wanted to say more, but no words came out. Some students laughed. I felt embarrassed. That night, I decided, I will learn English, no matter how hard. I made a plan. My first weeks in Canada were very hard. Everything was new. I felt like a baby learning to speak. I also noticed strange things in Canada. There were no uniforms in schools. People liked personal space and no close hugs. The weather changed very fast. In shops, people scanned their own food. People said sorry for everything. Food portions were huge. But the biggest shock was English. People spoke fast and used slang. Like, wanna grab a coffee? Wanna get coffee? I'm down for that. I agree. And that's lit. That's amazing. In class, my writing was full of mistakes. My teacher said, David, you think in Portuguese, then translate. That's why your sentences are strange. Speaking was worse. I knew answers in my head, but my mouth was silent. But I refused to give up. I made a study plan. First, I used the headphone trick. I walked with headphones and pretended to talk on the phone. But really, I spoke to myself in English. I am walking on the street. The sky is blue. That man has a red coat. Second, I followed the 3 new words rule. Every day I learned 3 new words and used them in sentences. Third, I stopped subtitles. I watched movies without subtitles. At first it was hard, but later I understood more and more. One day, I went to a coffee shop and said to myself, today I will speak English. The barista said, hey, what can I get you? My heart was beating fast. I said, I would like a cappuccino, please. She asked, do you want almond milk or regular milk? I understood. I said, regular milk, please. She smiled. Have a great day. I said, you too. It was a small talk, but for me, it was a big victory. That day, I learned something important. English is not about being perfect. It is about being confident. Learning English was one challenge, but living in Canada was another. Canada is expensive. Every month, I spent a lot of money. Rent for a small room, about $800 to $1,000. I lived with a roommate to save money. Groceries, $250. I cooked at home to save money. Transportation, $120. A bus pass in Toronto. Phone bill, $50. English classes, $500 per month. To pay these bills, I worked part-time in a small cafe. Life was not easy. I woke up at 6 a.m., went to school, worked at the cafe, came home tired, and still studied English at night. I missed my family and my home. Many times I wanted to give up, but every time I felt weak, I remembered my parents' sacrifice. I could not fail. The biggest change came when I stopped translating in my head. At first, my brain worked like this. Hear English, translate into Portuguese, think of answer, translate back into English, speak. This was very slow, but after 4 months of daily English practice, something amazing happened. One day at the grocery store, the cashier asked, do you need a bag? Without thinking, I answered, no, I have one. Thanks. For the first time, I didn't translate. I was finally thinking in English. If you are learning English, here is my advice. Speak every day, even if you are alone. Pretend you are on the phone. Stop translating in your head. Try to think in English. Talk to native speakers, even if you feel scared. Surround yourself with English. Change your phone. Watch movies. Listen to music in English. Don't be afraid of mistakes. Mistakes help you learn. And most important, never give up. I still remember the day everything changed. I had been in Canada for 6 months. My English was better. I could order food, talk to classmates. But I was afraid to speak with native speakers. They spoke too fast, used slang, and I felt stupid when I didn't understand. I avoided conversations. If someone spoke to me, I just said yes or haha yeah, even if I didn't know what they said. But one day, I decided to be brave. I went to my favorite coffee shop and told myself, David, today you will have a real conversation. Don't run away. I stood in line, nervous. A girl next to me smiled and said, This line is so long, right? My heart jumped. This was my chance. I took a deep breath and said, "Yeah, it's really long." She continued, "I come here every morning, and it's always like this." My brain wanted to panic, but I answered, "Oh, really? I just moved here, so I don't know." She smiled and asked, "Where are you from?" And just like that, we had a normal conversation. For the first time, I was not translating. I was not scared. I was just talking. That day, my confidence grew. Confidence was the missing key. After that, I wanted to sound more natural, like a native speaker, so I started using the shadowing method. I copied sentences from TV shows, repeating exactly like the actors, their speed, tone, and emotion. For example, if the actor said, "Oh my God, that's amazing," I paused and repeated it the same way. At first, it felt strange, but after 1 month, my pronunciation improved a lot. I also wrote down my mistakes in a notebook. For example, "I am agree with you, underscore, I agree with you." By checking them every day, I stopped repeating the same errors. I pushed myself to make Canadian friends because I knew real conversations were the best practice. I joined student meetups, used language exchange apps, and talked more with my coworkers. The more I spoke with real Canadians, the more natural my English became. Even with progress, life was still hard. I was always tired. I studied, worked part-time, and cooked by myself. I missed my family, but flights were too expensive. Money was always a problem. One day, I had only $5 in my bank account. I sat in my small room and cried. I thought, why is this so hard? Should I go back home? But then I remembered my dream. I didn't come all this way to give up, so I wiped my tears and said, "No, I will continue." Years later, everything changed. I passed the IELTS exam after months of hard study. I got into one of the best medical universities in Canada. Medical school was difficult. Advanced English, long books, presentations. But I didn't give up. I worked hard, recorded lectures, made flashcards, joined study groups, and step by step, I succeeded. Finally, I graduated as Dr. David Williams. I still remember walking on stage, holding my diploma and thinking, "This is for you, Mom and Dad." I made it. Later, I got my first job in a big hospital in Toronto. My first salary was $8,000. I couldn't believe it. I remembered the days when I had only $5 and had to choose between food and rent. Now, I could help my parents, travel, and live my dream life. But money is not the best part. The best part is saving lives. One day, a little girl came to the hospital, sick and scared. I held her hand and said, "Don't worry, I will take care of you." Her mother looked at me with tears and said, "Thank you, doctor." At that moment, I knew all the pain, all the work, all the sacrifice, it was worth it. Now, I want to tell you something important. Don't accept being weak. Don't accept being average. If you want to change your life, you must work for it. Nobody will save you. Not your parents, not your teachers, not your friends. Only you can change your life. When I was struggling, I could have said, "English is too hard. I don't have money. I'm not smart enough." But I didn't. I looked in the mirror and said, "David, stop making excuses. Work harder." And I did. So here's the truth. Learn English like your life depends on it. Speak every day. Make mistakes. Be embarrassed. Talk to strangers. Study again and again. That is how you grow. Today, I live in a beautiful apartment in Toronto. I drive my dream car. I travel to new countries. I help my parents. I love my life. But remember, I was not born lucky. I built this life with hard work, and you can do the same. Now you have two choices. 1. Close this video and do nothing. Stay the same. Keep making excuses. Or 2. Start today. Learn English every day. Work on yourself. Change your life. The choice is yours. If you choose the second option, subscribe, like this video, and join me on this journey. Because when you become the best version of yourself, the world is yours. Now, go and change your life.